Hello internet friends, and welcome back to my series where we look for quality clothing within a brand. Today, we are dipping our feet into department stores. This will be my first department store review, and we are starting out with Kohl's. I know, a little weird for me to choose Kohl's of all brands. It just feels like such an enigma of a brand. I don't know about you, but I feel like Kohl's just one day appeared out of nowhere in the early 2000s. I remember walking into a Kohl's for the first time after I entered into the workforce and getting a lot of career wear there. It felt so nice and empowering to see brands like Simply Vera, Vera Wang available in a price point that I could afford. It was truly my first introduction into a diffusion line. Quick disclaimer. As always, these opinions are my opinions and my opinions alone. I never want these videos to come across as me offending anybody or saying that you shouldn't purchase these things based on style. This is based on quality alone. Style is such a personalized experience, and it is not something that I am trying to come after what it is that you're wearing and how you're wearing it. It's more what the manufacturing standards are built on. Of course, before we dive into looking for the quality clothing, I think it's important to get a little bit of a background idea of where Kohl's came from. Kohl's was founded in 1927 by Max Kohl. It was actually started as a grocery store of all things. In 1946, Kohl's established his first supermarket, eventually creating the largest grocery chain in Milwaukee. In 1962, Kohl opened his first department store in Brookfield, Wisconsin, offering a mix of products between high-end and discount stores. In 1972, however, he sold his controlling stake in the company, so Kohl's Corporation was no longer in existence, and the majority stakes were owned by a completely different company. In 1992, Kohl's went public on the New York Stock Exchange, and by 2000, Kohl's had started over 298 stores in 25 states, which is probably why it felt like all of a sudden in the year 2000, Kohl's appeared out of nowhere, because they kind of did. And as of 2025, Kohl's now operates over 1,100 stores across the United States. I could not help but notice, had they stuck to the grocery store and clothing combination though, it feels like we would probably be living in a completely different universe or timeline, because Kohl's would actually be in competition with places like Target and Walmart. Kind of a little bit of a misstep in my opinion by them closing down all of the grocery store chains. Kohl's is yet again another one of those companies that operates on the basis of everything feeling like it's on sale. There is a set price that you see when you first walk in, and then if you look at all the little fixtures throughout the store, you can see that you can get a discount. And then also if you have Kohl's Cash or coupons, you can add that element of excitement and know that the price goes down even further. Very much one of those incentive type places. And I think over the years, they really capitalized off of the coupon rush that kind of happened in the mid 2000s. But the reality of those discounts is whatever that price is discounted to is the actual quality of the item that you're getting. Even though the price started at $100 and it's now on sale for $45, you're still getting a $45 item. You're not getting a $100 item that's on sale. That reverse psychology has impacted our buying habits so much over the years. I think the further I go into this series, the more and more I'm seeing these companies that rely specifically on those buying habits. So let's go ahead and see what quality looks like across the board and head out to Kohl's and get our hands on some of these items. I think it's really important to note some of the brands that they carry within Kohl's. Because it is a department store, they actually don't have very many in-house labels. I'll give you a good example. Draper James is carried by Kohl's. There seems to be pieces that are specific to Kohl's. So Draper James RSVP, as far as I understand, is specific to Kohl's. But Draper James in general is owned by Reese Witherspoon, and she has her own separate clothing available on her website. Elsie Lauren Conrad, Simply Vera, Vera Wang. The message feels very mixed when it comes to these brands and what are exclusive to Kohl's and what aren't. I don't think they're very worried about differentiating what you're getting at Kohl's versus what you're getting elsewhere. I think there are some brands that they just know Kohl's customers are very loyal to, but they do also carry other brands like Tommy Hilfiger, they carry Levi's, they carry Nike and Under Armour, which I was really surprised to see that. Like we covered with the Levi's Premium, there are certain levels levels of quality when you get into the kind of nitty-gritty of what's available within different stores. Now, we are mainly focused on finding quality, so I am very adamant about flipping up the tags and seeing what the garments are made of. And unfortunately, for the most part, everything here is made of polyester. And we are going into the summer months, and let me tell you, most of these items are not something that you want to wear in the summertime. These are going to be heat traps in themselves. It was not looking very promising. This was something that I knew I was going to have to work really hard to find something that was good quality. LC by Lauren Conrad had a few pieces that I thought were decent quality for the price point. For instance, this jacket was 100% cotton, but then you can easily jump into something like the blouses and tops, which were all 100% polyester. I actually felt like in this price point, you could have easily asked for a rayon top, which I think would have been significantly better quality than a polyester. And when I tell you we really have to dig, I mean, we really gotta dig. It is so hard to find anything that is not polyester in this store. And the dresses, I think, was really where I felt like there was clear signs of white labeling going on in the store. I felt like everything was very generic. Everything felt like these were things that I've seen at the thrift store over and over and over again, and they are all priced at over $100. When did we reach this territory where a dress, 100% polyester dress, is over $100? I really truly don't know, especially a generic design. I know I really can't reiterate this enough because I always have people coming at me in the comment section talking about polyester, and it is so nuanced, and I am 1000% open for discussion on all of these things. I don't think it's cut and dry. I don't think you can specifically say all polyester bad and just be done with the argument. But I look at the style and I look at the slip on the inside, and everything just feels so wrong and so off about the dress. And I'm not specifically commenting on style. I also want to reiterate that because I think these are beautiful dresses. They all remind me of vintage pieces that I've like fallen in love with over the years. Why are so many of these pieces being manufactured, and why are they of such poor quality? It's all a constant conundrum, let's be real. I felt like Sonoma was one of the first areas that I saw not all polyester. There was a good mix. I could find linen pieces. I thought Simply Vera Wang was the best collection overall when it came to offering a mix of quality. I thought you could find quite a few pieces that were linen or cotton mixture, and also not to mention rayon, which again, I like seeing rayon thrown into the mix. I would much rather prefer a rayon dress well made over a polyester dress. And if you want to talk about quality comparison, a lot of the dresses within Simply Vera, I think were actually better quality than what you would get from, say, a company like Reformation or Flynn Sky or any of those brands that really picked up using rayon in their source material for most dresses. I think it's always really exciting to see diffusion lines that are done well that still have the designer very much involved in the process. You know, they're not just like hitting yes or approved on everything that comes through. You can hope that they're still putting their intention or quality behind what they're doing. However, LC Lauren Conrad, I did not think the quality was there. And that didn't really surprise me. I find Lauren Conrad all the time at the thrift store. I mean, endless amounts, and it's always polyester. And speaking of celebrity designers, next up we have Draper James. I was really excited when Reese Witherspoon launched Draper James. I thought it was very promising. She had some collaborations with Net-a-Porter, but yet again, I will say heavy amounts of polyester and acrylic. So to be honest with you, most of this is coming out pretty negatively. The whole idea of this is to dig deep and find the quality within the brand, and there were a couple brands that really stood out to me that I felt like packed the quality in. And the most shocking part was these were all brands that I really didn't have on my radar or knew were carried at Kohl's, or quite frankly, ever even heard of. The first brand was Gray & Gray. I found quite a few pieces that were 100% cotton within this brand. Everything was really soft to the feel and touch. Farmer's Market was another one that I thought was really well done. A lot of linen rayon blends, just really good fabric quality, and also not to mention light and airy, good manufacturing overall. I was very impressed with this brand. And the other few rare pieces were Draper James. Again, you really have to dig for it. I found a matching set that was rayon, but we're gonna get into the try on in a minute. It was a little bit of a letdown, but it is something that you can still dig for and find some good pieces. And some Sonoma, again, try-ons coming right up, but there were some few select pieces that I really liked from that brand. There were a lot of bottoms that I felt like could have been promising, but listen, I am so picky when it comes to trousers and denim they have to be perfect in order for me to invest my money in. They are the one thing that I feel like can hold up the longest amount of time. And they are the one thing that I feel like people cycle through so quickly. Every single pair of pants that I looked at in this store, for the most part, had some kind of like, it's just not quite doing it for me sort of thing. A lot of warping on the waistline, a lot of just like, mediocreness that I just couldn't quite get past in the style. Okay, let's move right along into the try on. Now, first is the rayon Draper James set that I mentioned. This was a little bit of a nightmare, I'm not gonna lie. It was so cute. I actually thought the print was adorable. It was good quality, but once I got it on, both of these were a size small and they just felt like I would have had to work so hard in order for them to fit me. And I think there's a reason for this, and it's called grading, which we're gonna talk about a little later in the hot takes. I liked the set, and again, something that's 100% rayon, and the lining I thought was really good quality, and we saw a lot of bad lining in this store, so this was promising, but it just did not fit me. Next up is the Farmer's Market. Now this is a cotton skirt, which was probably my favorite out of all the pieces that I tried on. I thought this was so cute. The only thing that bummed me out is there were no pockets. I am so specific when it comes to pockets. Again, the slip was done well. That is something that I highly recommend looking at. The slip can make or break how much you love a piece. Next is the blazer, which you could arguably say does not fit me. This is in a size medium. I think if they had a small, it probably would have fit quite a bit better. Where I'm really confused though is on the website, it is listed as rayon and polyester lining, whereas on the tag, it actually says rayon and linen blend. So a little confusing. The rayon linen actually felt nice. You could kind of feel the texture of the linen and kind of the softness of the rayon. Next up, we have these Vera Wang linen blend pants. Again, linen rayon blend, polyester lining. I thought these were done really well, but yet again, the sizing way off. This is a size small and it fit me like a large. I'm 5'1", so a lot of this stuff I should very easily be shopping in the petites department, and they do have a petites department, so that could be an argument as to why the sizing just felt so all over the place. That palazzo pant feel is something that I have always been in love with. I think anybody who dabbles in vintage loves palazzo pants, so not complaining at all about the style. I just wish that it had more shape to it. Next up is this Vera Wang V-neck maxi dress. I thought this was another one that was done really well. I like the pockets. The slip, I was a little bummed that it cut off so short because you can see it through the design. Like you can see where the slip cuts off. And that always bothers me in certain types of dresses. This one was a linen rayon blend, so quality was there. It was a polyester lining, but I could have sworn in store, and I'm really kicking myself because I didn't film it, but I could have sworn it was a cotton lining. A little thrown off by that. I feel like I keep getting conflicting things now that I'm looking back on their website. That's just the confusing world that we live in as far as clothing quality goes. Next up was this gray and gray striped sweater. This was probably my favorite piece out of everything. This reminded me of vintage Norma Kamali. That was the first thought that I had when I saw it. I thought the stripe on it was so good. The extra sailor collar, it just had a lot of really good details to it. And I thought for the price point, I was like, dang, this is actually really good. And it's 100% cotton, it's cable knit, it's all the things that I would specifically look for. And also that extra element of style to it as well is what sold me on it. And the very last piece that I tried on was this Sonoma button down. I actually have found quite a few variations of this shirt at the thrift store, so I by no means am saying like this is, you know, a gold mine of a find, but I do think at 100% cotton, this is very airy and very breathable. Going into the spring, summer months is something that all of us are going to be looking for, but I thought this had a very soft cotton feel to it. And I felt like this with like a baseball cap and some tennis shoes is like the quintessential perfect on the go summertime look. Let's jump into my thoughts and opinions and hot takes because I always have some. Kohl's is so fascinating to me. It truly feels like one of those companies that's just kind of holding on for dear life, but also still has very much a purpose in the market. Affordability is crucial in a marketplace. I think Kohl's actually does a really good job of kind of merging the gap between affordability and some quality pieces. You know, if I had to compare Kohl's to Target, I would say Kohl's wins hands down. I think where Kohl's falls short is a lot of things are very much the same everywhere else on the market. For instance, this dress in particular, I feel like you could find at pretty much any other brand. I'm pretty sure Mango did a run of this dress. I think as far as originality goes, it just kind of becomes a race to the bottom to try and figure out what market you're going to capture and who's going to purchase from you. So some people might go for Mango because it's the Mango brand, versus other people are going to go for Kohl's because they know they can get it significantly cheaper. And I think at the end of the day, nobody's really winning because it's still a fast fashion piece. But I think there are some pieces within Kohl's that can very easily stand the test of time in your wardrobe. I think the Vera Wang label is a perfect example of that. I think the gray and gray label is another really good example of that. Some select Sonoma items feel that way. There's some brand integrity, and then there's some pieces that just fall flat. I think where things really start to get messy is the sizing. And the more I'm learning about manufacturing and the behind the scene decisions, the more I'm starting to get like a broader understanding of how all this works. And grading, I think, is one of the most important things to talk about in a situation like this. Grading falls into how a piece is manufactured to fit certain body types. When you have small, medium, large, your grading is very generic and it's not going to have that big of a swing. When I explain it that way, it doesn't really sound like an aha moment. It sounds like common sense, but I think a lot of times we don't factor that in when we're making purchase decisions. I think where I really saw a difference in this was when I did the Levi's video and I tried on a pair of jeans at Target and then a similar pair of jeans at Levi's. I felt like the Levi's premium fit so much better as far as sizing goes. Whereas when I tried it on at Target, it felt like a very generic fit. It felt like I was gonna have to tweak some things in order to get the same style of fit that I did at Levi's. I think those are more instances where you're seeing a divide in price and you're seeing that better quality play out in the premium line, or, you know, in this case, in a higher end department store, because the grading is more specific. That premium price that you're paying is the premium ability of the manufacturers spending a little bit more time on the sizing. I do, of course, absolutely hate the whole couponing aspect of Kohl's. I think stuff like that, it just makes purchasing things so confusing. But some people get like an absolute rush out of that and they love the idea of finding those deals and they feel like it kind of gives them a sense of power in purchasing. A lot of us were raised on that psychology, but I do think in a lot of cases it hinders our ability to make decisions because they know what they're doing at this point. They've done the focus groups, they've done the, you know, buying patterns and history and all that kind of stuff. So they understand that they have the power over us when it comes to major couponing and discounts. So I would say just enter that with a little bit of caution. Just try and make the best purchase decisions possible that fit within your budget. I'm not gonna lie, I had a lot of fun filming this video. I thought there were some pretty cool pieces kind of mixed in and hidden within the department store. And I think that's half the fun of shopping in a retail store, is finding all the pieces that speak to you, because fashion is so different. It's a different experience for everybody. And I think that's important to hold on to. Overall, I think Kohl's has a place in the marketplace. I feel like everybody probably feels the same way that I do, where it's like, you kind of feel like, is it gonna close down? I don't know. I just wouldn't be surprised if it did. I think it's probably gonna go the route of private equity, and that's that. I still swear, if they opened up a grocery store within Kohl's, it would all make sense. And I feel like it would have fulfilled the original prophecy of what Kohl's could have been. That is it for today's video. I had so much fun. I am slowly but surely trying to work my way through all the brands that you guys have asked for me to review. So if there are any more, please don't be afraid to leave them down below. I am like creating a whole list and template, and yeah, slowly but surely we're gonna make our way through all these brands. I do have a question for you though. What do you think about reviewing stores that don't have brick and mortar? I am very much against returning items. I don't think it's a very good sustainable habit to be in, and I don't want to buy just to buy. But there's a lot of situations where I can't review brands that you guys have asked for unless I purchase from them. Now that I'm working with sponsors more and more, I would love to be able to find a way to kind of funnel that money back into the channel. I also want to do it in the most eco-friendly way possible. Another option that I have is thrifting items and reviewing those thrifted items, but a lot of times those have like cycled through 5+ years and they're not the current manufacturing standards. I'm kind of torn on what this whole process is going to look like. I'd love any input or feedback. As always, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And if you're new around here, I might have a couple extra videos for you right here and right here. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.